today's video, we are going to talk about how to use there is and there are when describing locations. Let's jump into it. When we give directions, we describe the location of things. We also talk about how many things exist. To describe the location and quantity of something, we often use the expressions there is and there are. When we're only talking about one thing, we use there is. When we're talking about more than one thing, we use there are. Let's look at some example sentences. There is a gas station on the corner. One gas station. Down 2 blocks, there is an ice cream shop. One thing. There are 2 office buildings at the end of the road. More than one thing, 2 things. And in the middle of the block, there are 2 parking lots. Let's look at how to form sentences in the affirmative with there is and there are. So in sentences using there is or there are, the subject actually comes after the verb, and the verb is always a form of to be. So if we look at this chart, we can see how to form there is and there are. First, we need there. Then we need a form of to be. Now, if we're talking about one thing, we use is, and if we're talking about more than one thing, we use are. Then, of course, we have our subject, the thing that we are locating. So in the first example, it is a gas station, and in the second, it is 2 office buildings. And then finally, we have the location of the thing itself, either on the corner or at the end of the road. Now, it's also possible to form sentences with the location first, but notice that we use a comma after saying the location. So, for example, in this chart, down 2 blocks, there is an ice cream shop. Or in the middle of the block, there are 2 parking lots. Now, let's take a look at how to describe the negative, or how to say something does not exist. Now, in these cases, we don't normally start the sentence with the location. You can, but it just sounds a little less natural than starting with there. So first we need there, we need a form of to be, we need the negative not, we need the subject, and we need the location. So, for instance, there is not a gas station on the corner. There are not 2 office buildings at the end of the road. In English, it's really natural to contract the negative of there is and there are. Let's look at these contractions so you can see how they work and how they sound. So the first is there is not, which would contract to there isn't. There is not, there isn't. There isn't a gas station on the corner. That's the same as saying there is not a gas station on the corner, but in fast spoken English, it's much more common to hear there isn't a gas station on the corner. For the plural form, there are not, it sounds like there aren't, there aren't. There aren't 2 cafes on the corner. There aren't 2 cafes on the corner. And how about asking a yes or no question with there is or there are? Well, in questions, the word order changes. So we need to start the question with the verb to be, followed with there, the subject, and then the location. So for instance, is there a gas station on the corner? Or are there fast food restaurants downtown? When we ask a yes or no question using there is or there are, the answer is usually short and can be either affirmative or negative. Let's take a look at some of these example answers in this chart. So the question is, excuse me, is there a gas station around here? And if you are giving an affirmative answer, you can say, yes, there is. Or if it's negative, it would be, no, there isn't. The second question, sorry, are there any pizza restaurants near here? Affirmative answer, yes, there are. Negative answer, no, there aren't. Now, normally, it's pretty uncommon to give such a short answer in everyday conversation. When most people have to give a short answer, they usually give a little bit more information just to be a little bit more polite and helpful. Here are some examples of that. So if somebody asks you, excuse me, is there a gas station around here? And you don't know, or you know that there is not, you can say, no, there isn't, but there is one around in the next town. Or no, there isn't, but let's ask and see if we can find somebody who knows where another gas station is. Or the second question, sorry, are there any pizza restaurants near here? Yes, there are. The one on River Road is particularly good. Or, excuse me, are there any fast food places downtown? Yes, there are. There's a burger place on River Road and a taco place on Main Street. So you can just provide whatever information you actually have about the question that is being asked of you. Of course, it's perfectly acceptable to just say, I don't know, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But if you do have some information, whether it's yes or no, it's usually polite just to give a little bit more details in your response. Lastly, let's take a look at how to form where questions with there is or there are. First, of course, we need the word where, and then it needs to be followed by the verb to be, either singular or plural. Then we need there, the subject, and finally the location. For instance, where is there a gas station around here? Or where are there fast food restaurants around here? What is the difference between asking this where is versus just is there? Where is usually just asking for more specific information. You would like a more detailed response than just yes or no. Now, normally, if somebody asks you, is there a gas station around here? They're actually asking you a WH where question, because if you just said yes there is and then didn't tell them where it was, it could be seen as kind of rude. So in my own experience, there isn't a huge difference between asking is there or where is, because in general the person is looking for the same information. To finalize this, I'd like to work with a little bit of pronunciation, because there are is not the same as they are, and sometimes students pronounce them the same way or get them confused. So there are is an expression that we use to talk about the location or amount of something, whereas they are is the subject and a verb of a sentence, and the two words are pronounced differently. You should not say them the same way. So for example, there, as in there are, rhymes with air and hair. There, air, hair. They, as in they are, rhymes with say and pay. They, say, pay. Of these two sentences. There are some shops downtown. There are some shops downtown. This is describing the location of some shops. Versus they are shopping downtown. This is telling us what a person is doing downtown. There are some shops downtown. They are shopping downtown. There are some shops downtown. They are shopping downtown. There are, they are. There are, they are. The tricky part here comes with contractions. So they and are is frequently contracted in spoken English and even in writing. And when they are is contracted, it sounds like there, which basically sounds the same as there are. There are. When somebody is saying that fast, the difference is so minuscule and so small, it almost doesn't exist. So listen to the way I say these two sentences. There are two buildings. There are two buildings. I'm describing the amount of something or the location of two things. Versus they're working. They're working. I'm describing what someone is doing. There are two buildings. They're working. There is a small difference, but like I said, when you're speaking fast, it's so small, it's barely noticeable. So while I did say you shouldn't pronounce these words the same, there are some cases where people may do this, and it's usually pretty acceptable. So don't stress about it too much. In this video, we learned about there is and there are. We learned how to form affirmative and negative sentences with there is and there are. We also learned how to make questions with there is and there are. We learned how to answer these questions. And finally, we learned about the contractions of there isn't and there aren't. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.